Hi, this is Michael Becker, and in this Tinderbox lesson, we're going to look at linking. And I'm super excited about this one because it's chock full of just tons of insights and how-tos and concepts and creative thoughts. And it's a lot of support that I've received from the community to help me build this one. So let's jump right in and let me show you. Okay, so you're seeing in front of you a Tinderbox file, and we're going to be talking about link semantic meaning in Tinderbox. So essentially, how do we get semantic meaning out of all the linking that we do in Tinderbox, and how do we go about doing that linking? That's my goal for this training today. And you'll see that there's just a lot of different strategies and methods that you can accomplish when you're linking within Tinderbox. So the first thing we want to do is give our acknowledgments to the community. So I've gotten a ton of help from the community as we think about different strategies and thoughts and ideas of linking and interacting with Tinderbox. Mark and Andres and Nick and Beck and Art and Sean have all contributed their thoughts and ideas and requests and aspirations for this particular lesson in linking. Now, as part of that, I communicated to the community last week that I was going to work on this, and the community rose to the occasion. It gave me some really great quotes and insights when we think about linking. So, for example, on sense making, Nick had mentioned, I see links as adding a set of alternative ways to looking at relationships. Mark points out that we often will just look at linking in the concept of map view and not realize that it can be so much more than that. Beck looks at it as the ability to connect different conceptual ideas that have some form of relationship. When it comes to learning, Beck also talks about that was Andres that talks about the conceptual linking. Beck refers to this as about, this idea of messiness and redundancy in the files are really useful for pulling out insight and learning. And she's given a couple of really good references for us to take a look at. You can look at that after the training. On this idea of memory, Art points out that by using linking, especially when you visit a file that you haven't been to in a long time, you can find out where you left off or follow the paths. Nick points out that on the benefits, it improves for navigation and visual relationships. Nick points out that when it comes to direction, it's you can think about the progression as we interact with different notes. And then finally, this point of metadata, which we're really going to conclude with on today's lesson, that linking is just an incredibly powerful tool for leveraging the metadata and the metacognition that you get with and as you use Tinderbox. So let's take a brief look at when we think about the idea of linking. So links are useful, as we've talked about in some of those earlier quotes, for visual semantics. They're useful for structural semantics, data analytics and analysis within your file and the structural management of your file. Again, they're good for navigation and then moving and transforming attribute values within your notes. So this process of linking helps you curate and incrementally formalize your knowledge and your thinking as you're navigating and interacting with your files. And this fits in with the 4 C's of knowledge management that I've often discussed. When we think about this, there are numbers of use cases. I just was brainstorming a little bit about this and what are the different use cases? Mind mapping or shepherding manuscripts through an approval process, building theoretical models for research, industry landscape analysis, maintaining relationships for academic references and insight, maintaining click-throughs to external links and files, crime investigation, regulatory data flow diagrams, medical research, writing, link path analysis, and just so much more. And I'm not going to be able to address all of this or give examples for everything in this one lesson, but I'm certainly going to give it a try. So when we think about looking at Tinderbox and we look at what does it take to actually produce links within Tinderbox, you can do this in map view, you can do it in outline view, you can and other views within Tinderbox, which we'll show you. You can use the various parking lot methods. You can use a method we call Ziplink. You can use a footnote or endnote method. You can use action code and link types. You can use navigation elements leveraging export code. You can pull out links in RTF, and then you can can even use action code to be able to drive that in a significant more way. I mean, there's just so many different things that you can do when you're doing linking and interactions. Key thing to remember is when you're looking at links in Tinderbox is multiple links. So every note can have multiple links linked to it. Links are directional. They're only going one way. They either go one way or the other. You don't get little arrows on both ends. You have this idea of link type, so you can label that link, and that label can have semantic meaning, but also functional meaning within Tinderbox. As noted, you can leverage action code and links to drive interaction within your notes, and you can use links to see into the notes and tear things apart and really drive into the various aspects of your file. So that gives you an overview of linking within Tinderbox. And so now what I'd like to be able to do is jump in and show you some examples. So let's start by showing you how to link within the various views. So we'll start with map view. So we're going to go ahead here and we're going to take a look at linking with these notes in map view. So I'm going to open up this in a new tab and I'm going to create some notes. We'll call this map view note 1. Create another one. And we'll go ahead and actually look at these notes in map view. All right, so we've got map view note 1, we have map view note 2, and map view note 3. Now to be able to link between notes in map view, all you need to do is simply drag the note over like that. Right? And I'm just in the process of creating a note. Now, the one thing you're going to see immediately that will pop up when you start creating a note is this idea called link type. So we're going to go ahead and make these untitled for the time being, because I'm going to go through and show you what link type means in just a minute. So you see that I can link this note to this note. I can link this note to that note. I can link, this note back over here. So you can have, this is the idea of directionality that I was showing you before. So you can actually see the directions in the notes. Now here's a little tip and trick, by the way. You can move the notes, the arrow around using this. You can hit the little information icon and learn a lot more about what you can do with linking. So for example, you can change the colors of the dashes of the make it a linear note, make it a dashed line, make it a dotted line. You can also change the color if you want of the line. So there's a lot of things that you can do with notes. You can also make them visible or not. When you're making the linking, so maybe you don't actually need the visual semantic. You can, in that process, you can also change, where the note connects to another note. So maybe I want it starting at the bottom of the note and ending at the right of the note. Okay, so then if I click away, you'll see that we've now got a linear note that's purple that's going from one side to another. So that's another way that you can draw notes. Now what's interesting with this is I can also draw a note this way. Okay, and there's that link there. Now if you see the little line blinking and you're clicking on a note and the little hand comes up, okay, sometimes it doesn't want to absolutely play. See, so you can see how I can move the note using the little hand as well. So that's another way that you can go about manipulating and working with notes in map view. So that gives you an idea of that. So that's working with notes in map view. Now you can also work with notes in outline view. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. So we're going to go now take a look at looking at notes in outline view. So I'm going to again open this up in a new tab. And we'll create some new notes. So I'll say outline view, note 1. We'll create another one, outline view, note 2, and outline view, note 3. So we've got 3 notes in outline view. And when you're wanting to link notes within outline view, all you need to do is click this little arrow here and drag them like this. So you see that I'm creating notes this way as well. And then I can go like that. So you'll now note that I've been creating those notes. Now, interestingly enough, I had left the links pane available, so open. So if you hit Command 7, you can see here, if I hit over here and I hit Command 7, the links pane will open up. That's this window right here. And what this links pane lets you do is actually see links that are coming in and out of the note. So as noted, notes are directional. So when I'm linking into a note, that's an inbound note. When I'm linking out of the note, that's an outbound note. And so you'll see that I'm now getting that directionality when it's coming to the links. Now, when you're in map view, when you're in outline view, you can't actually visually see the semantics of the linking the way you do in map view, but you can actually see this is telling me that there's a note coming into this note and there's a link going out of this note. Whereas with this one, there are no links coming in and out of that note. So that's another kind of way to be looking at and understanding how notes interact within Tinderbox. So you can link in and out of that direction using the outline view, and that can be a really effective method as well. Something else I want to show you too, watch what happens here. If I drag this link, this works both in outline view and map view, and just randomly drop a note. Actually, excuse me, let me go and show that to you in map view. Actually, I'm going to go back, and we're going to go open this up in map view. And you can see what happens here. If we go back to map view, you'll also see another way to create notes is I can just drag to a random place on the anywhere in the map view, and it will automatically create a new note. And so I can create notes that way as well. So that's another way to be generating notes within your map view. Sorry, I forgot to mention that. So now if we go back to the outline view, you can see that's how we go about using the outline view to interact with and generate notes in a really convenient and easy way. Now, the same method of note-taking, it can be really effective in other views as well. So let's say let's take a look at this. I'm going to go ahead and now open up this view, and we're going to say timeline view, note 1. We'll add another note, timeline view, note 2. Another note, timeline view, note 3. Okay, and on these particular notes, what I want to do, since we're using timeline view, I'm going to go ahead and put a start date. I'm going to put an end date for these, and I'll add these here too. I can do prototypes, by the way, to make this easier if I, easier. But since we're doing a quick little demo, I'm just going to add those, and I won't have any dates on this one. So now if I go ahead and look at this note in the timeline view, okay, you'll see that I can add notes to these. So let's say this one's going to start at 5/1/21, and this note number 1 will start at excuse me, what did I do here? This one start. Let's have that one 4/23 is fine. And you can also so in this regard, you'll see I'm actually going to move this one over here too. So you can see I can actually add dates to notes by moving them around on the timeline. This is not a training for timeline view, but you get the idea. And then if I want to link notes within timeline view, I can do that as well. So you see the little arrow, just like we saw in outline view. I can link notes in timeline view too. And you'll see that that's another way of being able to link notes, and you can see association within those notes. Now there's a whole bunch of other really cool things you can do in timeline view to make that work, but for that's another training. In that same line, let's say we're looking at these notes. I'm going to go ahead and go back to my outline view, and let's say I want to add another note, child. We'll move that note in here, so we actually have a child of this note. And so then if I am in chart view as well, so for example here you can see I'm in chart view, we've got notes, and I can likewise do linking like that. So you have the ability to link notes across the board when you're across any of your views to help you develop that association and management. And you can manage those notes from these views. Now, what's super interesting about what we're doing here too, let's think about driving into some of these notes. Let's say I'm now in a more complex note method where I actually want to link to notes within between containers. Well, I can do that too. So for example, I can move this note and link that way. It's like we did an outline view before, and you'll see that we've now got those associations. But now let me show you if I can put some text in here. Say this is some text in map view note 1. Okay, so I've got some text in map view note 1, and if I go down here and I look at map view, timeline view note 1, and I click in the links window here, it actually pops up a quick little dialog box so I can actually peer into and look into the text value of what's in note 1. So that's a really, really great way when you're doing research or other kinds of writing where you want to peer into and or check out a definition of a particular note, for example. The other nice thing when you're doing this is let me do that again. I can see where it says right here, click here to dismiss or tear off. So if I click on this, so I just dismissed it to click. And if I go ahead and click it again, get it to pop up, I can actually click on this and tear it off. And that actually opens up the new window. And now look at this. If note 1 had an attribute associated with it, let's go ahead and give myself a little more space here. And excuse me, if map view note had an attribute associated with it, so let's say like type, and I can put some values here, type 1, map view example. Okay, and now we're going to go ahead and you'll see immediately as soon as I made that note active, the attribute for that note popped up as well. So when you tear off the linked note in that method, you're able to edit this note. So here I am editing map view note 1. Okay, so I'm going to edit that note. And obviously, since I've got that note active right now, as soon as I close that out, you'll actually see that those edits took effect in the main note as well. And if we go back and look at its pop-up again, you'll actually see that edit came through. So again, this is not just the mechanics of linking, but it's also starting to show you the value of linking so that we can actually peer into notes across notes that we've linked to and interacted with. So those are the first kind of few things of note taking that I want, linking that I wanted to share with you within your notes, that you can actually use all of the different views and methods to be able to link within those views. And that can be a really effective method. Now, the next thing I want to show you is parking lots and how that works. So let's think about this. Let's say I wanted to link from parking lot note number 3. All right, let's drive down. You see I've got a buried deep into this file. Let's say a file with thousands of notes in them. You wanted to be able to, move around and get this note linked somewhere else. Well, there's a method called, first method I'll use called parking lot. So if I click here on the little arrow and drag it up to the parking lot, I've effectively cached that link to this note up in this little parking lot area here. And now I can use that anywhere I want within the file. So let's say if I go to map view and I want to now link that note to this one. Okay, so just simply go here and you'll see now I've got this untitled note and it's linked to this. And if I go to so if I'm looking at a parking lot, I've now linked that. And again, Tinderbox will store this until you change it and close out the file. That link will always be there to be able to link to other notes. So if I go like this, you'll actually see now I've linked this one in note 2. And if I go to note 2, you'll now see that this Becker 2021 is coming as an inbound link. So this parking lot method can be a really, really effective way when you've got a larger file that you want to link to, or if you've got a bunch of notes you want to be linking that particular note to. And then you can also change it. So let's say I want to now switch the parking lot, and I now want to have this one. Let's go ahead here and I'll show you some other ones. I don't want it to link to itself. Let's say I'm now going to have that parking lot linked to that one. Okay, so that works. So you can see I can do that too. Now what's interesting is the parking lot works again, just like everywhere else, within a whole range of other views and methods. So let's say I'm sitting here in map view and I'm looking at these notes and I'm like, okay, I want that Becker citation that I had linked there, I want to link that one to this one. So I'm going to go here and link it, and I'm going to link it there, and I've now just made that link. And you'll now start seeing, and here's another thing to be aware of, is you'll see numbers that are coming across on top. What this is telling me is that there are notes that is being linked to this note, either to or from this note, that aren't viewable in the map view. So all I need to do is mouse over the one number, and I can actually see which notes are linked there. And if I click on them, it will actually take me to that note. So there's a whole variety of different mechanics and methods that you can be using when you're interacting with your notes in this way. Now I'm going to go back to my let's go back to my note here, and I'll go back to outline view. Okay, so now we're in outline view, and we've showed you basically parking lot number 1 method, the ability to drive links up to the main parking lot here and do that. Now let me show you parking lot number 2 method. So let's say I'm clicked into this note, and I say I am writing some text, and I want to link this text to another note in my file. Okay, so to be able to do that, all I need to do is I can highlight this text. You'll see this little T comes up, and then I can go ahead and drag that T to other places within my file. So say I want to link that text to here. I can go ahead and I've now just linked that text to this note there. And then if I want to click on that, like I showed you before, it's going to bring you to that file. Now here's another little trick. If I hit Command apostrophe, the Command apostrophe function will actually take me back. It's like it's a go back click through. So that's Command apostrophe. So now I can go back and forth between the notes that I've been linking. So that's another way that you can go about doing notes, and say here is another method of text note linking. All right, and so we can just keep doing that same method where I can now link this note to another one. See the little T's popped up, and so now maybe I want to link it to that one. Okay, and we can go ahead, and now we've linked it to that one. So there's different ways to be able to do that kind of linking. That's another way of doing parking lot linking. And then finally, the last point I want to kind of raise about parking lot linking is this method. And so you'll see here where I'm linking to another note. So I can just, without doing the drag and drop in the text, let's say I don't want to be linking to the note within the text, but simply link this note to another note. I can simply click here. It will pop up the parking lot method, and then I can start typing the notes that I want to link to. So let's say I want to say @Becker. So if I type the @ it's going to find me all of the notes that that are starting with an @. Or let's say I want to start typing a name. It's going to find the notes that are start with the word Michael. If I type the word M, it's going to find all of the notes that start with the word M. And so I can just simply find the note that I want to link to. So let's say I want to go link to Mark Anderson. I can click that, click link, and then it will ask me what type of link do I want to do. And then I can either select from existing notes the existing types that I've already created for link types, or I can type a new one. So let's call this one reference. Whoops, spelled right. Okay, so I can create a link type called reference, and now I've established that link. And now you'll see here, unlike the notes that we were doing before, you'll see here, this was just showing me that I had links. When I go to this one, you're now going to see that I have links with showing me the type of link it is. It's type reference, which is a really important method to be thinking about it. Now, if we go back into the map view example, and show you, it looks like we got that out of the order, and show you how that worked here. Now I'll go ahead and show you map view. You'll also see that we can do that link typing methodology that we showed you here. So let's say I now want to go down this one, and I want to call this link type reference, and I hit link. You'll now see this label has appeared on the You'll now see this label has appeared on the link reference. And so now you can actually know, you can be labeling these references. And I really encourage you to see the links that Beck has shared with us when it comes to doing linking, and the method that she's used for actually using action verbs to help her understand the relationship through these links as she does her logic. She has an absolutely wonderful training on this that I encourage you to check out. So that's another kind of concept to think about. It. You have this ability to establish link types, which we're going to come back to a little bit later in the lesson, because it's really important for us to be thinking about that. So far what we've shared with you is you can link in maps, you can link in outlines, you can link in timelines. You have the different parking lot strategies for linking, including like linking notes within particular files. You can do that, no problem. By the way, too, if you just want to do linking outside of the files too, let's say I type www, google.com. Okay, that becomes a link too, and it's embedded within the RTF. So that's another method that I not actually talked about, which would be, let's call it like Weblinks text. So we'll go ahead and add that into this demo. I hadn't really talked about doing that, so we'll add this in. So I go www.google.com and say, here is a popular search engine. Okay, and so now we've got this popular search engine that we've talked about, and if I click on this, my browser is going to open up, which is opening up on another screen, and it will actually take me to google.com. So you can actually see that we can interact back and forth between notes. Now, if you want to be able to copy this link, by the way, this is a little tip and trick for you. I've just learned this myself. You can highlight the highlighted text within the note, and then if you right mouse click, you'll get a dialog button that will pop up and say edit link. And if you edit that link, that will open up, and then this will show you the RTF link that you then can copy and paste and use somewhere else. So that's another strategy and style for pulling out links that are embedded within the RTF of your files. There's other things that we can do along those lines as well. Now, the next thing we want to show you is this other strategy that we call footnotes and endnotes. So let's go ahead and let me open this up, and we will create a few notes. So I'm going to start with main text. Okay, main text. So let's say I'm writing some text. Here I am writing some text, and I'm like, I want to create a footnote. All right, so I want to create a footnote. So I want to link this to a footnote. Now, all you need to do is go up to Notes, Footnotes. Now, what Tinderbox is doing here is footnotes aren't numbered in Tinderbox. They're more of like just another method of creating notes. So if I go ahead and hit Add Footnote, now I could also hit the Control Option Command F key keys to be able to create this. You'll see I'll go create the footnote, and it will automatically create the footnote for me. And you'll notice that it linked to it. So like I say, here is the footnote. Okay, so if I go back to the main text, you'll see I've got my note here. I can click on it. If I mouse over it, I can see here is the footnote. So that's another way of going about creating links within your Tinderbox file. Now, the next method is endnotes. So let's say I'm on this note, and I'm like, now I want to create an endnote. Okay, so I'm going to highlight that endnote. I'm going to go back up here, click Footnotes, click Endnotes now, and you'll see that Tinderbox is going to create a subnote within this container called Notes, and it will have created that endnote for me. And so I can click here, and again, if I hit the Command apostrophe, it will take me back. And if I say here is a second endnote. And what I'm going to call this one is endnote 2, or about Tinderbox, because I can see that it might be confusing because I called it endnote and the note name was actually endnote. That could be confusing. You'll see if I actually go up here and now create that endnote, you'll notice what it's doing is it's actually creating the name of the note is the linked file. So you'll see that I can now go back here and you'll see about Tinderbox, and it created the about Tinderbox note, and that will be the same thing. I can say a second footnote. Okay, if we do that, and I link the footnotes this time using the keys, you'll see it created a second footnote. And now if we look at these notes, and again, one of the wonderful things about Tinderbox is you can, all of the different views you can use to see your notes and interaction. So you can actually notice that now we've got a whole bunch of notes, and you'll notice Tinderbox automatically applied a link type that we've already talked about. This is a note and a note, and you'll see that you're demonstrating how they are linking together. And I believe what we're seeing here is that what the link type note means that this is the note where that footnote or endnote was generated. And the plus sign means that it was going to the note that it was generated in. And then as we noted too, over here you can see we've got the notes coming in and out of that. So this is another way of generating notes and links within Tinderbox, which is a really powerful way. And you'll also see that, just again, you'll be able to see that we can use all of the various views within Tinderbox to be able to manage and interact with your notes. Okay, so what we've done so far is we've demonstrated and shared with you a variety of different ways of creating notes or links within Tinderbox, doing through map views, using the parking lot strategies, leveraging a web link, going through and doing footnotes and cite and notes, etc. Now that you can also be citing your different types of notes as well. So let's say, again, just giving you a parking lot strategy, I could go ahead and say, this is a citation, Becker 2021, and I am writing about a piece, and you can see here I am writing about a piece. Okay, I can highlight that and then make that connection. So this is a way of managing my citations and interacting in that way too. The next way I want to be able to demonstrate to you, and there's a whole bunch more of citation and academic research linking that we'll be able to get to later. The next thing I want to demonstrate to you is Ziplinks. And Ziplinks are a super powerful way of creating notes within your file. A Ziplink is not a type of note, a link. A link is a link. A Ziplink is a method for creating a link. I just want to emphasize that. So you can say, here I am typing and I want to create a link. Okay, and so to my reference, and then all I need to do to create a zip link is I start putting two brackets, and Tinderbox will pop up a list of all of my various notes, and then what I can do is I can pick one. So I can go through here and I say, okay, which note do I want to pick? And if I start typing a name like parking lot, it will actually start filtering that list for me, so I can be finding the notes that are related to that. And I just need to click on the one that I want to link to, and I've got my link. So that's another way of creating links within notes. Now, there is a couple things I want to point out here. So let's say I grab this one. You'll see sometimes when you create a zip link, if you're linking to a container, what Tinderbox is going to do is it's adding this backslash onto the container. And so all you need to do is delete that, type the two notes, close brackets, and you'll connect to that note as well. So that's a quick way to be linking notes using the zip link method. Now I want to show you something else that's really cool, and it's a way to do this when you're in map view, which is kind of fun to see. Let's bring all of our notes together. Okay, so let's say I'm here in map view and I'm typing a note. So we'll call that zip link note. Okay, now I am typing and I have a good idea. So now I'm going to say, do this. I'm going to create a little arrow and I'm going to say, good idea. Okay, actually, I don't even need the arrow yet. What I'm going to start with, I'm going to say, here is my good idea. Okay, now look, this note, good idea, doesn't exist anywhere in our file. But the second I close out the zip link, it automatically creates a note called good idea and establishes the link for us. So that's pretty cool. Now let's take this a step further. So here is, and this time what we want to do is we're going to put a caret in there and say another good idea. And then we're going to close out the zip link. And so now we've got another zip link with another good idea, but you'll now notice in this note, because we put that little arrow, arrow in the in our zip link when we made it, you'll actually see that it automatically embedded a link back to the original note using that syntax strategy. So that's a really kind of effective and exciting way to be able to leverage and use zip links in that way. Now, let's take it a step farther. Now, let's say we're now here, and we say, here is yet another good, excuse me, I'm going to actually start creating my zip link here. Add the link back, and we'll say yet another, spell check it, another good idea. But this time, what we're going to do is we're going to put 2 colons here and see my idea was to teach a linking lesson. Okay, and now we're going to close out the zip link. Okay, and so now we have another note that says yet another good idea. But look what happened to this one. The text following those 2 colons was actually added to the other note. So as you're thinking and as you're typing, if you've got an idea, you can have Tinderbox create a note for you, add your idea into that other note, and then you keep typing. So let's do that again and say, I am having an inspirational, let's spell things properly, inspiration, and I want a link coming back to this inspiration, and I say, I need to do an attribute browser training, close it out, and then I'll say, and I can continue typing without losing my flow. Okay, so what this does for you then is you basically can be typing, and if you get an idea, you can create a note, park it out there without having to move around or lose your idea. So that can be an incredibly useful method for leveraging your zip links too. Now let me show you one last method of zip linking, which is really, really nice. So let's say I'm now here and I want to create, I want to reference, and I'll say Mark Anderson. And I'll type this. I'll do the @ sign. It will give me the Mark Anderson reference that I have in my file. But this time though, unlike just clicking that like we showed you before and it created a link, I'm going to hold the Option key down before I click that. And so now I've held the Option key down before I've clicked that, and then I enter the pipe. And so by entering the pipe, this now allows me to establish an anchor. So I can call this, use a typical APA style guideline, Anderson 2021. Okay, and I'll close out the zip link. So this time, you now see my zip link is not the name of the note, but rather this anchor that I've written called Anderson 2021. And now if I click back to there's the Anderson note. I'm going to hit Command apostrophe to take me back, and you'll see if I mouse over here, like I was showing you before, I can actually see the details of Anderson 2021, and here's the reference to Mark's comments that were helping me work on developing this training. So that is yet another way of doing linking within Tinderbox, using this zip link method in all of its various incarnations. And again, Mark Anderson's ATB ref file has some wonderful examples of how to really leverage and use this in a variety of different ways. So now the next thing I want to show you in linking. So let's just review what we've done so far. We've looked at linking within map view, outline view, timeline view, the various parking lot methods. We've looked at web links. We've looked at footnotes and endnotes. We've kind of started toying briefly with citations. We looked at using the zip link method and syntax methods. Now, the next step I want to show you is let's go look at those link types again and how that works. So we're going to kind of open this one up. Let's go to map view because link types are mostly useful in map view, and we'll create a new note. Link type note 1. Okay. And we'll then say link type note 2. And what we want to do is establish connections between these two notes. So as I showed you earlier, I can establish those connections, and I previously had that link type called reference. If I wanted to, I could go ahead and make this one untitled, which I'll do right now, and you'll show that directionality in this way. Now, something I didn't mention too, which is probably a good thing to mention right now. Let's say I create another note here. We'll call it link type note 3, and I'm going to link this way. But in doing that link, I'm like, let's say, oh, I actually want the direction of the link, because remember, Tinderbox has linking directionality. And I'll show you the reasons why that's important in just a minute. So right now I initiated the link from this source to this destination. And so I'm going to go from link 3 to, from note 3 to note 1. But let's say I actually want that reversed. I can simply do that, and I'm now changing the directionality of the note linking. So when I hit create the link, you'll actually see the direction of the link has gone this way now, and the arrow's pointing to that. So that's another way of changing directionality within your notes. That's a little side note. I should have probably brought that up earlier. Now, let's go back to this idea of link types. So as noted, I can create link types on the fly. So I can go over here, create a new note, and we'll create link type note 4. Okay, and we're creating a link type, I do the link type on the fly, and we'll call this one, and we'll say this is, random link type, random. Okay, so I'm going to generate that random link type, and you'll now see it's displaying as random link type. Now, that's a way of doing link types. Now, you can actually preconceive of your link type. So if I hit Command 1 and I open up the document inspector, let me drag that over. Okay, under the document inspector, you can see here where it says links. And so I can go ahead and create my link types and manage my link types over in this area. So if you see here, I had the random link type that we just created. You can actually manage your links from here. So let's say I wanted that random link type to be bright green, and I want it to be dotted, and I wanted it to be broad, and I want the connector to be a circle rather than an arrow. And the green's a little hard to see, so let's go and make it bright red. Okay, and we'll go ahead and close. Actually, let's do it again, because I changed the untitled one when I did that. So random link type, make this red. Okay, and you'll see that's a way we can go about managing managing our links in that way. Now I can go ahead and create another link. Let's say I now wanted to delete, before I create, I want to delete this random link type. I can delete link types just by hitting delete. Now random link type is gone. So when I go refresh this page, by the way, another Tinderbox tip is if you click on the tab, clicking on the tab will actually refresh the page. So let me see if we can go like this. And I'm wondering why random link type didn't delete yet. Let me go back and open that back up. Random link type. Because I didn't have it selected when I deleted. Now we're going to delete the random link type. And maybe I can't delete it when I'm using it. All right, I can delete it that way too by clicking that little note. Okay, it's probably if you're using, I didn't know this, I just learned something. If you're using a note link type, you probably can't delete it if it's in use. So now that I deleted it, I'm then able to delete it. Maybe that's something that we've just learned. Okay, so let me go through and show you. So we've created those link types. Now I can also manually create link types. So I can hit new link type and say, here is a new link type, and let's give it a color like crayon, and we'll make it broad, and I hit enter. So hitting enter, I hit enter over here. So hitting enter creates that new link type. So now if I go over here and let's say create a new note, and I drag this one over here, I then can select from the new link type that we've just created and hit create link type. And now I've got this broad new link type that we just created using that methodology. So that's another method of creating link types when you're interacting with them. And as I showed you before, you'll see down here the label for the type of link that you've created and the link type that you've created when you're interacting with the notes. Now, there's another thing about link types that's really important, and I want to show you how that works, and that's called link actions. So you see this little box down here. This is a place for you to be able to write action code. And so let's say we have a link type, and I'm going to just be explicit about the names. We're going to call this one color red. Okay, so if I type in the word color red here, that's the link type that I've created. And when I want to now put in some action code, and I'm going to say color equals red. Okay, so essentially what I'm saying with this action code is when I make a link using this link type, I'm going to tell Tinderbox to make the note of the note color red. So we're going to go down here. We're going to say color red, and we've essentially made the existing note red when we make the color red. So I'm demonstrating that you can be applying action code to notes. And again, thinking about action code, what we said is, make the note that has the focus color red when you establish that link type. Now you can also pass data back and forth between these link types. So let's go ahead and show you this. So let's say I've got a tag here, and I'm going to create the tags. I'm going to add the tags method to both of these notes. Okay, so I've added tags to both of these notes, and let's now say, I'm going to create one more note, 2, and we're going to add tags to this one. Okay, now what we're going to say here is in our create a new link type, and we'll call pass data. Hit enter, and now what we're going to say is tags. Now this is another important concept within Tinderbox, and it's called designators. So I'm basically going to say tags destination equals tags source. Okay, so these are the designators, and remember we talked about link directionality earlier in this training. So watch what happens. What I'm saying is from the source. Remember, when you're looking at action code, what you're saying is if you've got a single equals like this is an assignment rule. We've done this in other trainings, and what I'm saying is make whatever's on the right side of this action code, the assignment, assign it to what's on the left side. So what I'm saying is in this action code, I'm saying make the values of tags of the source document equal to the value, assign those values of the source into the destination note. So in that regard, let's go ahead to note 1, and we're going to say, I don't know, let's say peaches is the tag we're having here, and apples. All right, so we're going to have peaches and apples in the tags here, and so when I go and drag this over, and I'm now going to apply the pass data link type like this, and I hit create, I've now applied the pass data link type to this note, and when I go here, you'll see that note 2 now has the data apples and peaches. So you're able to pass data back and forth between those notes. Now watch what happens here though. If I go and make this note here, and I go pass data, actually what I'm going to do before I do that, I'm going to delete, I'm going to add oranges here. Okay, I've got to spell it right, sorry. Okay, and I'm going to create another note, and we'll call this new note 3. Okay, and I'm going to drag this note over to this note. And actually, before we do that, just to demonstrate this, I'm going to say tags. Okay, so you see we got no value here in tags. And so now I'm going to drag this note over to this note. We use the pass data link type. And now when we go and look at note 2, you're going to say, huh, what just happened? Note 2 got erased. Well, the reason why is, again, if you go back to our our link types here, we're saying make the destination note, aka note 2 in this context, equal to the source of the original note. So what's happening is, because of our directionality, we've essentially told Tinderbox to overwrite the value of note 2 with whatever the value is in note 3. So that's something just to be aware of when you're looking at the directionality of leveraging action code within link types. The other example I want to show you now, though, is check this out. So now let's say I go to new, which number are we on here? New note 4. New note 4. And let's say new note 4 already has a value in it, and let's call it spinach. Okay, so I've already got the value spinach in new note 4, and we're gonna modify our action code on pass direct slightly. We're gonna go add this. So now what we're telling Tinderbox to do is saying make the tags destination, the value of the attribute tags destination of the value of attribute tags in the destination note equal to what is already in the destination note plus what's in the source note. So watch what happens now. If I go like this, hit create note. And now you saw in note 1 we had apples and peaches. Now if we go to note 4, we're going to have apples, peaches, and spinach. So you're able to connect these interactions in a really rich and unique way, passing data back and forth between different Tinderbox files. So you're able to make these really rich connections and pass data back and forth between each of your Tinderbox files. It's a really, really powerful method that you can enable and do in that way. Now, let's go look at a more advanced method of leveraging and interacting with notes within Tinderbox, and that's using the navigation method. So if you recall, if we go back to my presentation up here, you see that I had actually had navigation that I had built into my template, right? And so you might ask me, well, how'd you do that? Well, let me show you. So if we go here and I'm looking at the navigation and linking within Tinderbox, you'll see in my export code example here, I have basically put in action code. And I'm essentially telling it, or export code in this case, I'm saying, looking at the siblings and I'm linking to these siblings and or interacting with them, and I'm also adding some if there's child counts, then do this. Again, this is not a lesson for export code management, but I just wanted to kind of show you that this kind of strategy can work as well. And just to demonstrate, then, if we go up here, let's open this up in a new note, and let's create a couple notes here. Nav 1, we'll create another one, nav 2. And because we're using export code, I'm going to use my export inspector, and I'm going to select the template that I want applied to this code, and we'll put some text in here. This is slide 1 of the nav demo, and we'll say this is slide 2 of the nav demo. So now if I go and preview these, I've got to give this one the same template. Voila. So now you'll see that it's going to start looking at its navigation. I can say, let's go look at nav 1. Let's go look at nav 2, and then we can go back. So this shows you how you can use export code and links within Tinderbox to create navigation within your files. Essentially, do presentations out of Tinderbox, like I've been demonstrating here. All right. So let's go back. So what have we done so far? We've done a lot. We've talked about linking within map view, linking within outline view, linking with timeline view and other views. We've talked about the 3 parking lot strategies. We've looked at web links in Tinderbox. We've looked at footnotes in Tinderbox. We've looked at citations. We've looked at the various Ziplink methodologies. We've looked at links and types and link actions. And we've looked at navigating within Tinderbox. And so now, in this final kind of step towards looking and linking within Tinderbox, I want to go through a broader, kind of more complex use case example. So In this example, what we're doing is we're looking at one of our colleagues in the Tinderbox community is looking to manage his manuscript writing and assigning different reviewers to different manuscripts and tracking that process and understanding the linkages between reviewers of articles that he wants people to be looking at. And so we're going to now pull all of the different pieces together and then add one more trick as we've demonstrated in this method. So let's go show you. Let's say I'm going to invite Bob, Michael, and Bob to go and actually interact with and review this. So I'm going to pop up here and I'm going to invite Bob Jones to, and I'm going to make him invited, and I'm inviting Bob to help me review paper number 1. So I click that, and you'll see instantly, because of the link type action codes that we showed you earlier. If I go over here and I show you invited, because of the link type action code that we've demonstrated, the name of Bob is being populated in this field. Now, just to be clear, what you're seeing here is the name of Bob is actually Bob Jones and his note ID. The reason why you're only seeing Bob Jones here is because of I'm using display expressions, which you can learn about in another lesson. Now let's also use another method that we learned how to interact with people. So let's now invite Michael Becker to review this. Okay, so we've now invited Michael to review this. And again, using that addition element, we didn't overwrite the invited because we invited them there. And let's use the other method that we demonstrated too. We're going to have Bob participate, and actually, let's do it that way. We're going to have park Bob up here, and then bring Bob back down to number 1, and show you that we can actually do this. Now, if you notice though too, what we want in our work processes is we want got to remember directionality. Because of the way my link actions are working and my link type action code is working, I don't want to go from Bob to paper 1. I want to go from paper 1 to Bob. So I can do that. And now we've invited all 3 of these people to actually participate and review this article. Now watch what happens. Let's do a couple other link types. Let's say now Bob has accepted, or actually let's do it. So let's say Bob declines, and let's say Michael has accepted. And, well, oops, I gotta finish off the link. We'll say Michael has accepted. Okay, so we've got Bob's declined, Michael has accepted for the link types. Now, watch what's going to happen here, and you can see that these links were added into our file right here. Okay, now let's take a look and say, oh well, Bob Jones has declined. And we did invite him, but let's say we actually wanted to uninvite Bob Jones. Watch what happens here. If I go ahead and delete Bob Jones from this and I hit enter, you'll see that the invitation status of Bob Jones disappeared automatically, or automatically, I should say, and he's remained to be declined. Now, what happened there? What happened there is we actually used another method of linking within Tinderbox. And what we did there is we used action code. And let's open this up and show you the action code that we used in this process. Essentially what we've said is, in this case, go through and look at each one of the people that we've invited. And essentially that's using this action code. Link to original, cycle through the names of those links, but only those that were invited. And then what I want you to do is start building a list of their names in this action we call reviewer linked. And then what I want you to do is analyze the names in reviewer link minus those in the groups that we've invited. And if you see any difference, I want you to go through and unlink them. And I then want you to do that for all 3 of the different link types. Again, this is not a lesson for me to teach you this action code in detail, and we'll do that in another lesson. But what I'm trying to emphasize and show you there is that we can actually use action code in itself to dynamically establish links. And so let me show you how that action codes works in a different way. So here we've demonstrated I was using all of the link methods that we were showing you on how to link one note to another in that regard. Let's say I'm looking at paper 2, and I now want to go and invite Michael through this process. So I'm going to go ahead and select Michael from this process, and I'm going to hit enter. Okay. Now all of a sudden you'll see automatically Michael's name got added. So I didn't do any of the linking methodologies that we were showing you before. What happened here was the action code that I've just walked you through established that connection. And so we can go down here and we'll say we'll invite Bob Jones, and you'll see automatically Bob Jones has now been invited to the program and links. Okay, so long story short, that's how you do linking within Tinderbox. It is an incredibly powerful tool with a whole variety and wide range of different methods and solutions and different strategies for just depending on what you're doing in your notes, the way you're going about doing your notes, and what you're trying to accomplish. So I hopefully you found this interesting, exciting. If you have any questions, please ask me. And over time, we can break these methods out and get into greater detail in all of the different strategies and techniques. Thank you very much. Don't forget to like this video and be sure to subscribe to the channel. Appreciate it. Bye.